This week marks the 40th anniversary of the Armenian Radio Hour of New Jersey service to the community. We have broadcast bilingual programming over the airwaves of WSOU, Seton University, South Orange, New Jersey. The experience has been just amazing, mind-boggling, and adventurous. For a moment, if you only think of the technological revolution that has taken place over the past 3 or 4 decades. When we began, there was no email, there was no internet, there were no computers. So just imagine the different stages of the technological revolution we had to serve. And one thing for sure, we have done our job, and today we continue serving the community. One of the most important things we had at our disposal were young volunteers. It is the young that helps us move forward, because the young was abreast of the technology each and every decade, each and every year, each and every day. The technology keeps changing. While the more older and more mature people were able to do very important things within the radio work, the young helped us tremendously move forward. Until today, we still depend on the younger generation to serve the development in the new world and the new technologies. Just imagine, 40 years ago, we could be heard only at a 50-mile radius. Today, we can reach any corner of the world with internet, with crystal clarity, instantaneously. We have, one of the most important things we have done is to share with our listeners not only the weekly news of the Armenians and the Armenian diaspora in Armenia. Obviously, the more recent decades have more news available to disseminate. But we have always tried to keep the community abreast of the developments, news, and community announcements. But one ingredient was very, very important. It is the Armenian songs and music. When Armenians were spread throughout the world, one of the things they took with them, is not their memories only, their life experiences, terrible experiences, but they took with them their culture and especially the songs. Wherever I travel, even in New Jersey and throughout the world, as I meet Armenians, it is the music that is common. Obviously, the church also is a common denominator we enjoy. But the music in the cars, at homes, singing, enjoying, entertaining, that is something constant. And we are very, very happy to have shared with you the songs of Gomidas to the songs of Onik, the songs of Aris Harmandian to the songs of Tata, and more recently, if the music is less clear, more experimental music, we do share that too. It may sound anything but Armenian for many, but this is the age and times we live in, and this is one way of attracting the youth and keep them within the radio family. Over the past 40 years, we have had a very special relationship with the WSOU management. Over the past 40 years, each and every year, there would be one question we would ask the management of WSOU. And that very simple question, how can we help you? And each year, the help was extended to WSOU, whether it was financial or material. Many a times, our donation turned to be a computer or a device needed by the studios of WSOU to conduct their programming. This bond, this special relationship we had with the management of WSOU gave us a very special place in the organization of the radio. Today, when our younger volunteers walk confidently in the studios of WSOU, when we accept guests in the studios of WSOU, or when we ask for support from WSOU, we always get it. But there's a lot of work, consistent, continuous work that goes behind the scenes to maintain that relationship. Many of us would take Armenian genocide commemoration programs from Times Square live feed from Times Square for granted. It's heard, it's being done. But the people who know the difficulties we have in bringing these live broadcasts, whether it is through the volunteer service, whether it is the monetary service, whether it is the relationship with the university, but what we are saying is it's intertwined and we are in a good position to move forward. One thing for sure, one thing I would like you to bring to your attention is that when we began our programming, this is what we would use. This is the vinyl records. Many of you have these at home. You don't know what to do with it. We had hundreds of these records, and guess what? Like many of you, we had to just throw them into the garbage. Why? Because after the vinyls came the cassettes, if you remember, and that too made us rearrange our programming. And after the cassettes came these beautiful CDs. We had hundreds and hundreds, we still have the hundreds of CDs. But these CDs are very, very interesting, because what I want to do is just share with you one information that we have about on these CDs. These CDs are all, I want to give you one handwritten one. These CDs are especially useful because each of these songs is reviewed, and there are comments about the songs, whether it is a joyous song, whether it is a historic song. So this CD is much more than the songs. There is information on each one, and this information was worked on for many, many months and years before we got it to this stage. One other device we use, and we have used, and no longer do we use, are these. These are called mini discs. These are called mini discs. And there are quite a few hundreds of mini discs we have. And once again, we have these mini discs because the station is equipped with equipment that uses these mini discs. No longer are these available to us. No longer do we use these things, because now all we use are the iPhones, and we know what the iPhones are all about. With all the technology mentioned here, we now know that this is what we live with each and every Sunday. The handheld devices, the iPhones, the iPads, whatever, computers, laptops, these contain all the CDs, all the music, all the news, each and every Sunday. This is hooked with a wire to the main board, and we bring to you the programming from here. It's really mind-boggling. Honestly, many of us did not know how to, still do not know how to use this. And yet the young people, anytime we have problems, it's the young we turn to, and we solve our problems. And the young, I repeat, are now an indispensable part of the programming we offer the community. With all the volunteers and the hard work we have experienced over the years, nothing would make sense, nothing would be possible without a strong community. There aren't many communities that have a radio program. There aren't many Armenian communities that have a radio program. It is a very special breed of volunteers that can handle this type of work. And we have been blessed with a giving community, a caring community, honestly. And obviously, like in any other organization, there are some very, very special people who need to be mentioned in terms of their generosity, in terms of support, in terms of their friendship, in terms of their continuous presence in the life of the community. And we like to share it with great pride and thank these fellow people. And most of them you do know, because it's the same names, the same people who are giving to the community, especially to the cultural projects within our community. We have a list of some names we would like to share with you. First and foremost, Mr. and Mrs. Harry and Suzanne Tufayan, Mr. and Mrs. Nazar and Artemis Nazarian, the Armenian General Benevolent Union, the AGBU, Mrs. Sirvar Tovnanian, Dr. and Mrs. Tavit and Sosi Najarian, Dr. and Mrs. Rafi and Shoga Govanesian, Mr. and Mrs. Haig and Elza Didizian, Mr. and Mrs. Murtad and Rima Amirsaleh, Mr. and Mrs. Ted and Gasia Mangasarian, Mr. and Mrs. Rafi and Hersik Alaverdian, Mr. and Mrs. Levon and Laura Arian, and countless others who stood by us and supported us and turned the radio into a reality. But above all, the special people we'd like to thank are no longer with us. They have touched us, they have inspired us, they believed in us, and today we owe a very special thank you to those who are no longer with us. God bless their souls. One last thing I'd like to mention here as we move into 40-year anniversary is that today, as we know the radio, there is not only radio we provide. Each week we mail out online a newsletter. Each week a newsletter. This is the work of volunteers. Countless hours are devoted to these newsletters, to the radio programming, and also to Parev TV. In fact, I can communicate at this very moment with you through the Parev TV. I'm sure you agree it's a very effective way of reaching the community. I assure you we're also well positioned to do more, and we will do more. Today, as we develop the foundations of Parev TV, we seem to be like a little child who is crawling. But honestly, we are ready to start to walk and also to run. And also as we run, to even carry things along the way as we move ahead in serving the community. I think it's been a pleasure talking to you. We don't do this every day. We thank the community that is a very vibrant community. All you've got to do is check our newsletter and check the many flyers that are added in the newsletter. Each and every week there are dances, lectures, seminars, gatherings of all sorts, and you know that it is a vibrant community you belong to. Thank you for your support, and let's together work together and make this good thing even better. We have the means, we have the volunteers, we have the community, and we have the obligation to continue enriching this service and serve the community and the Armenian nation. Thank you again.